What are you looking at? What are you looking at? What do you see there? Don't look at it.
2-speed in the back?
Nah, it's got a handbrake. We'll get into that. It's pretty cool.
Oh,
Yeah. Skirt, skirt. Okay guys, welcome back. Tonight we got something different on the bench. We have the ARRMA Fireteam. We picked this up from our friends over at Eliminator RC in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Horizon Hobbies had a big sale on it. We got this guy for I think $535 in Canada. Everywhere else they're cheaper, of course. Keep that in mind. We're in Canada, guys, so it's going to be a little bit more for us. Fantastic unit. Now, this is our first ARRMA. Jesse and I, as you know, are more scale kind of crawler people and airplanes and such, but not so much into the go fast bashers. We do have X-Max, we have the Max, we have, well, I think that's about it. And now we have the Firestorm. For the price point, I was looking for something for winter that I could throw some gnarly paddles on, go play around. And for the price point, $535, I couldn't say no. It's 6S, it's brushless, it's fun, it's cool. The black camel looks pretty cool on it. But, however, reason why we're here today, we don't have an unboxing video because there's 1.5 million out there by people that are more into this section of the hobby than we are. But, let's pretend we're noobs and we got this new. So what we did is we threw the batteries in it, hooked it up. Control was already bound. We threw two 3S 5000 batteries in there to give us a total of 6S power. We used the smart packs, and you're going to want to use 100C or better battery. Anything less, you're going to hurt the battery or you're going to hurt the ESC. That's a lot of draw for a 50C battery. You can get away with it, but just get 100C. Run them good, run them hard, run them hot. It's going to be better for it in the long run. Anyway, electricity doesn't like resistance. It builds heat. So, before we talk about the issue that we ran into, that is a noob problem, something that could have been taken care of factory, but something that you should look out for. We'll point it out to you in a second. Let's go over the truck itself. 6S brushless. It's your basic truggy style flat chassis on the bottom. It's a 4 millimeter thick chassis on the bottom. Plastic chassis braces with this aluminum brace across the top. Now, I believe it is a Mojave chassis with Creighton arms, Creighton hubs, and outdrives and all that stuff with the same diffs. Now, we don't know ARRMA very well, you guys. This is our first, so I'm just kind of going off what I've learned in the last couple days, cruising the pages. So yeah, it's got a really nice big Spectrum Firma brushless system in it. It is a 2050 kV motor, non-censored, works actually pretty good, feels pretty good too for non-censored, doesn't feel too choppy, so that's pretty decent. Yeah, one thing I do like about the ARRMA being new to it is they have all these clips for the wires here. They actually even have a clip right here for your bounce lead on your battery. You put your bounce lead into there and then you use this little retainer to hold that in so it's not flapping around, because they're worried about it constantly flapping around, actually breaking the wires off, which is, a valued point. So, oh yeah, cool. We got the e-brake in the back that works off the 3rd channel on the radio right here. Got a button right here. Hit that. That locks up the rear end. Now with the paddles on, it really does work too well. It's going to be something you want to do with a hard round tire. The paddles just really don't stop and slide. That's not going to stop these guys from turning. So, but it's pretty cool. Now we have the infraction. And that e-brake or rear handbrake mechanism is up here on the back side of the center differential. So you got 3 differentials: front differential, center differential, rear differential. I'm not sure what the oil tuning is on the Fireteam, but definitely has some good feeling silicone oil in there. I can't complain, it felt good driving it. We've got aluminum shocks, aluminum shock towers on it. It comes factory with sway bars. They're not the biggest, they're not the smallest, but they definitely work on it. So, plastic bumpers front and rear. Jesse, anything else I'm missing? It's got this cool radio box here with this little guy that slides up and down so you can fit different size batteries in there for your front strap. and then you run this one strap all the way around with another strap across the top to lock them in. So pretty cool, pretty cool. Waterproof radio box in the front. Anyhow, that's just looking quick overview of what we found on it. Like I said, there's other people that know more on it. But anyhow, so when we picked up the truck out of the box and I went to change the tire, I noticed that it had a bit of slop on the axles. And I wasn't, from racing, I know that should be shimmed out, but I did want to just take it out of the box, throw it on the ground, put some power to it, drive it, and see, you know, what ARRMA is offering for an RTR out of the box for just, you know, the general public, Joe Blow coming off the street, hey, blah, blah, give me a toy truck, I want to go have fun, and the problems we're going to run into off the hop and how to deal with that. So yeah, that being said, we didn't do anything, and we blew apart the front bearings in the front. They fell out about half a pack through. Now I'm hearing that is fairly odd. You can see parts and pieces for the bearing are just hanging out of it. The whole bearings come right out of the carrier after the inside popped out. So we're gonna open that up, replace that with a better quality bearing. Allegedly, the bearings that are in here are just the cheapest bearings they could get. So we're gonna upgrade that to a rubber sealed Traxxas bearing. Now Fast Eddie does have a kit coming out for this. It's not available yet, or sorry, it's not available for us yet, but it is available if you are in the lower 48 right now. So Fast Eddie, I think it's the 6S BLX whatever bearing package from them, and you can even get like 10 pack of those for the front. Assuming they're selling a 10 pack of them, it must be an ongoing issue. I've never really had to deal with that with the larger stuff. I know the X-Max had the rear carriers with the bearing issue, but before we even ran it, we ordered the RPM carriers with the bigger bearing, and it has been a non-issue for us. So we're really hoping that RPM actually has a front knuckle for this, but it's, you know, this Creighton part's been out for a couple years now, so I have no faith in that happening. But let's open it up and check out the carnage, and let's replace the bearing. We're going to do the inner bearing, the outer bearing, and then we're going to shim it to show you how to get rid of this slop. Well, that's broken now. Okay guys, so obviously pull off the tires on the front, and then we're going to have to get a little bit of heat to crack the Loctite free. Okay, so inside the end of your hub, okay guys, there's a 2.5 millimeter grub screw in the end. You're going to need a little bit of heat. You can take a soldering pencil and stick it in there and heat it up, or you can use a little bit of fire. I don't really recommend a heat gun because you can't concentrate the heat where you want it. Hey, hey, hey. It's like what we call in my industry a Chicago bolt. Yeah, that's different. Okay, so you want to remove the steering tie rod link end. Make sure you see the orientation, how it scoops to the back. You want to make sure you put that on the right way. Don't twist it up. And then you don't want to lift this guy up so it's level. Pay attention to the shim right here. Looks like a metal insert there. Cool. So yeah, these are pivot ball style knuckle. Personally, I do not like these. They have this weird like 4-corner position. Yeah, they work. I just don't like them. I think there's a better way to get it done than this. There's a more realistic, there's more better way. This is very old school technology, but it's been in the hobby forever. There's a lot of guys that will comment and tell you in the comment section that I'm wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm just saying I don't like it. There is a weak spot with shearing them off right at the ball and the knuckle. I know these have gotten bigger and the quality's gotten better, but with units I've experienced, 8 scale buggy back in the day that were running that type of knuckle, we'd break that off quite a bit. So, but yeah, so far so good. Besides, we have that bearing failure, so we're gonna get a rag, get this cleaned up, and be right back. Okay guys, now we got that all wiped down. We can throw our new bearings at it and get that back together with a couple shims in there and get that thing tightened up so we have no more failures at that point. We're going to use Traxxas 510 2A rubber sealed bearings. They are a 15 by 21 by 4 millimeter direct drop in bearing, but they're probably a little bit high quality bearing. Traxxas makes a good component. The outer race bearing, we have just a generic 4 by 8 by 16 millimeter bearing for the outside of the stub shaft. Another rubber sealed bearing. You always want to go rubber sealed bearings whenever you possibly can. And then we got some CRC shims. These 8 millimeter axle shims for the outside of the shaft, and they're 0.2 millimeter thick, and there's 20 of them in that pack, so we can get this guy tightened right up. So anyhow, let's get this guy back together with some good quality shimming and some love, and then make this thing hold up. Little trick, guys, when you're doing these axles, if you pull on the axle shaft and put your fingers against the backside, when you slide this guy out, the pin won't be able to fall out if you keep pressure on it. So keep everything lined up for you, and you can just do a quick swap like that. We are going to start with, let's start with 3. It did have a fair amount of slop in it. Let's start with 3 down there and see how it goes. Might be just a little tight. It's always 2. Every damn time. It's always 2. You know what we're going to do next time? Start with 4. Okay, so after getting to that point, you guys, if you do pull in and out on the shaft, you're going to notice that you do got slop in that joint. So you're going to want to grab the shaft like I just did, pull that tight, and then lock it with your fingers so you're holding that as a whole unit, and then wiggle it back and forth and see that you have just a tiny little click of play in there, which is fine. You don't want it to be super, super tight. Then you just want to turn it, make sure everything's free, everything's happy, everything's good. And from that point on, you guys, you can put it back on the buggy, go do all 4 corners, and get it on point. Do this with every one of your vehicles. As we do, you guys know we're big on shimming everything and making sure everything is tight out of the package. We could have prevented this bearing mishap by, I obviously recognized that it was sloppy. I knew it was going to blow, but I just wanted to take the RTR ARRMA, our first experience with it, like we like to do with any vehicle, and see what they're offering. See what the company's put in a box and called it RTR and putting out to the general public. And it's a great product. A bearing issue for me, to anybody, is not an issue. This is just whatever. It's not a breakdown, it's not a failure, it's not an issue, it's nothing to run home about. But it's just something to let you guys know there is room, that there is going to be a little bit of tuning and maintenance required for the longevity of the parts on these units. So we're going to do all 4 corners. We're going to put this guy back together, and then we're going to pull out the HPI Savage. We have another video on that with a quick mod, so we can get that guy running with modern packs. Stay tuned for that, you guys. We'll see you out on the trails with this guy soon, and we'll see you in next video next week.